and thank you very much for tuning in. I, of course, am Rotype, and we're back with Mouse Gunner in our guided Factorio series, where today we're going to build yet another type of science pack. And this one's a little interesting because it gets into some of the things that we haven't really talked about much yet, and that is the military items, 3 of which you can see in front of me and we'll talk about. But the purpose of the military science pack is to research more military items, and the whole point of this is we're going to start moving towards actually fighting the biters instead of just ignoring them. But before we do that, we need to make sure we're prepared to deal with their retaliation. So that's why we're kind of starting along this path. So the very first item here, this is your very basic first type of military item you get. You don't need any research at all to build this. This is just your standard, I don't even know what they call it. What do they call it? Firearm magazine. That's just standard magazine. It requires a piece of iron plate, and that's 4 pieces of iron plate, and that's it. So this is kind of your basic item. And in the old version of Factorio, you never really even made these if you didn't have to. Obviously, if you didn't have the research, you didn't, you made them, but you quickly moved on to the next available ammunition types and you didn't even deal with it. Now, the reason I have this here in an assembling machine is because it is required for one of the ingredients of the military science pack. But while we're here, like I said, we'll just kind of talk about each of these items. The first being this basic firearm magazine. Now, I guess I should talk about what you do with the magazines. If you see, I'll go into my crafting menu and I will just make one. Let me cancel this other thing that's taking forever. There we go. So I have one firearm magazine now in my hand. Now on the bottom right, you'll see that I have a bunch of weapons. Now, Mouse, what weapons do you have on the bottom right?
I just right now have a pistol.
Okay, so the pistol is your starting weapon. You get it when you spawn. If you die, well, in single player, if you die, you're dead. But in multiplayer, if you die, you respawn, and I believe you get another pistol. And so that's just, I believe you spawn with a pistol and maybe 5 rounds of this standard ammunition, something like that. So the pistol's not very good. We can demonstrate by shooting these trees. If you go over to the tree and hold the C button, if it default is C, you'll start shooting it, I believe. Yeah, so that's your pistol. It's not great, but it's not bad either. I have manufactured for myself a submachine gun, which does require research that we've done in the past. And let's see, on the crafting menu here, we'll see the machine gun. Submachine gun takes just some gear wheels, copper plate, iron plate, pretty simple. And the submachine gun is significantly better than the pistol. So frequently what you'll see people do is just dump their pistols in a box or throw them on the ground or just immediately get rid of the pistol. So the pistol is pretty much not useful at all. Now what I can do, I have personally run out of ammunition. I suspect you did too. With my firearm magazine that I have manufactured in my hand, I can put it down there under mine is a submachine gun. If you have a pistol, you can put it there, and that is reloading your whatever weapon you have. Now, there are other types of weapons that you'll see I have. Mouse, you probably don't have these at the moment, but under the combat crafting menu, you'll see the top row is all of our different types of weapons. You'll see that pistol I talked about, the submachine gun that I have, the regular shotgun, the combat shotgun, the rocket launcher, the flamethrower, and I believe there's one other type that I'm currently forgetting that you can also get. But all of these weapons will go into your slots in the bottom right. So I personally have a submachine gun in my first slot, a flamethrower in my second slot, and a combat shotgun in the third slot. And each of those requires a different type of ammunition, as does the rocket launcher. Obviously needs rockets, and any specific different type of weapon needs its particular type of ammunition. So you'll see I'm completely out of ammunition. If I make myself a firearm magazine, where did it go? I lost it in my inventory. Oop, there it is. Okay. So this is a good example. I was making firearm magazines and losing them. If you have no ammunition in your actual bottom right weapon and you make a piece of ammunition that will fit, it will automatically go there first. It won't go into your inventory. So I just made myself 2 firearm magazines that didn't show up in my inventory at all because they just went right down there in the bottom right. And that's basically like another inventory slot, but specific to the ammunition for whatever weapon you're using. So I made firearm magazines, they go into the submachine gun. If I were to make some shotgun shells, which I will do right now, it'll take a little bit longer to craft, but they will go down there in the bottom right under my combat shotgun. And I can switch between those weapons with what my current key is caps lock. I don't remember what the default is, but that'll just cycle through. And if you're on my screen, you'll see it's just highlighting which weapon I use. So if I go to the combat shotgun, you'll see it fires more of this broad spread shotgun looking type.
Don't think caps lock is the normal default. I'm gonna have to look. Because you said that's what's
you should be able to look here at them.
We'll find out.
Cycle weapon or something like that. It should be in there somewhere. Drag map. I don't know. It's in here somewhere. Oh, there it is. Next weapon, it's called. It's about maybe 2/3 of the way down on the left column.
I see it. It's normally tab.
Okay. So yeah, you can switch that to wherever you want, and that is how you'll switch between your weapons, and it'll automatically skip any weapons that you don't have ammunition for. So you can see it's skipping my flamethrower because I don't have any flamethrower ammunition at this moment.
Okay.
So I don't want to make this manually anymore because this is a game about automation. So I'm going to turn on some of these factories here, and you'll see we're now producing over here these regular firearm magazines to fill submachine guns and pistols if we still have them. But the pistol ammunition, or even this regular firearm ammunition, even in the SMG, is pretty weak. So the next thing I'm going to do is upgrade it to this piercing rounds magazine, which has no downside at all to using. There's really no reason to not use a piercing rounds magazine. And the piercing rounds magazine requires the firearm magazine as well as some other ingredients here. You see the steel plate and copper plate. And I actually miscalculated where I need to put these. So I need to give myself a little bit extra space here. And we'll actually do it one space over.
Oh, okay.
So that should be our copper and steel. And that will combine with the regular firearm magazine to produce the piercing rounds magazine. And like I said, there's no downside to using the piercing rounds magazine, I suppose, other than the extra materials required to create it. But it's significantly better in its damage, both to, trees and biters. Anything else you're going to be shooting. Players, I suppose, as well. And the piercing rounds is one of the requirements for the military science pack. You'll see here, I'm hovering over, you need piercing rounds magazine, you need a grenade, and a gun turret. So we'll have piercing rounds ammunition. I'll go ahead and talk about the next item on the requirement list, grenades. Now, grenades can be pretty fun. I will say that you do kind of need to upgrade their damage for them to be effective. So all of these items, bullets, flamethrowers, shotgun shells, grenades, they all can be upgraded in damage via research. So I'll pop up in the research tree here, and you'll see a couple of these items here. We're currently researching bullet shooting speed 2, which just does what it says. It upgrades how quickly you can shoot bullets. It has, let's see if I can find one here. Somewhere there should be a bullet shooting damage. There it is. Bullet damage 3 is a research you can do, which, as it says, upgrades the damage bullets do. And then you can do that with shotgun shells. You'll see here there's shotgun shells damage and shooting speed. There's also cannon shell damage, which we'll talk about a little bit later. You can shoot cannons, you can upgrade their damage and shooting speed, rocket damage and shooting speed. So all of these things, you can upgrade their damage and shooting speed. Grenades, like I said, you kind of need to upgrade them a little bit before they become really effective. But once you give them 1 or 2 damage upgrades, grenades are a pretty easy way of clearing out a whole bunch of trees. So you can imagine if you're not getting robots anytime soon, because grenades are a little bit easier of a research, you might want to get some grenades out and start blowing up trees. Plus, everybody loves blowing things up, right? So blow up the trees. So let's see, I will get some grenades set up here. Grenades are nice too because they're pretty simple to build. You just need some coal and iron, and you have grenades. So here we go with grenades.
Now, were we
Now,
bringing
I should
the
have some.
we were bringing the coal over on the bus, right?
Yeah, it should be on the bus. There might be some broken lines somewhere and that's not coming down, but it should be this line above the stone. So it looks like it got stuck somewhere. I'll go figure out where. Did connect it. Looks good so far. Now, there are a couple things about combat, and we can talk about this a little bit more once we start fighting the biters, but the reason you have all these different weapons are they're effective against different types of enemies, and basically the enemies are going to spawn from their little spawner hubs, and things like bullets don't do as well against the spawner hubs as things like grenades. Now, the grenades don't do quite as well against the actual enemies themselves, so that's why you kind of have a couple different types of weaponry and ammunition you can use. And they've really stepped up their combat in the last couple patches. It used to be quite boring and very few weapons. Now it's gotten a little bit better and you have a couple different things you can play with. So coal should be on its way down. Give the piercing ammunition an output inserter. Oh, power. I was wondering why this wasn't running. There we go. Give these some power.
You said the coal was above the stone line?
Yes, it is that last one above the stone. It should be on its way down. I fixed a small gap that there was. So I should have, good, I have 2 grenades, which is not very many. I can show you at least how grenades work. Now, if you get some in your hand, you get this green bubble around you, and that is the range of which you can toss your grenade. So if I click outside of the green bubble, nothing happens. If I click inside the green bubble, I toss a grenade, it blows up, things get damaged. Pretty simple. And you'll see there, it took me 2 grenades to blow up those trees. That tells me we need to do some grenade damage research because I want the trees to blow up immediately. But grenades are pretty simple. I used to actually never really make that many grenades, but now that they are required for this military science pack, start to make some grenades.
All right, here comes the coal, so it won't be too long before we have that going.
Good, so we'll get the grenades built. I'm gonna place an extra roboport to extend our range here. Now the last thing that is required for the military science pack is a gun turret. And that's exactly what it sounds like. It's a gun on a swivel that you place in the ground. And let's see, I'll just make one in my pocket to demonstrate, but it's a pretty basic thing. It takes either the regular firearm magazines or the piercing rounds magazines, and when you place it, this is what it looks like. You hover over it, you get that same green bubble I was talking about with the grenades, and that's the range of the turret, and you'll see it's blinking here because it has no ammunition. Well, I can take my 20 rounds of regular firearms and I can stick it in there, same as if it's a assembling machine or a smelter. I can just control click and drop it in. So now this turret has ammunition. It'll just sit here and wait for a biter to come in range, and if a biter shows up, it'll shoot the biter. So obviously they're kind of best placed up here near walls or something like that. Just kind of drop these in, and you have a whole bunch of them all over the place. The one tricky thing is they do, as I mentioned, need their ammunition. So you either need to run around and refuel them, or you need to have a conveyor belt going around the exterior of your walls, or some people can have robots deliver the ammunition. So you need to come up with some way to replenish their ammunition should they run out, as they're, killing the bad guys. But pretty cool. So let's see, we need to build some of those. Just dump this out of the way. There, good enough. So turrets are also pretty simple. They just need gear wheels, copper plate, and iron plate. So I think we'll start with iron plate here. And this will make gear wheels. Do it like this. And then I'll probably put copper in here, like that. And then another iron line right here. Because if I remember my ratios, I believe we need 8. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh, of course, the roboport's in the way. 8 machines making turrets will match our ratios for all the other things we're working on. There we go. And this will be nice too, because as I mentioned, we haven't really engaged the biters because then we'd have to be worried about their retaliations. But now that we have turrets automated, or once we get turrets automated, we'll be able to just defend ourselves a little bit more easily. Just kind of run around and put some turrets up, make sure the biters don't come in and destroy everything. So we've got grenades. While they're here, I'm gonna take a bunch for myself. I'm gonna do the same with piercing rounds. And I'll just run all of our military science pack ingredients along here. Good. So that should be everything once we get this all hooked up.
All right, so what did these two have to be? There are 2 lines here. So this one's iron, I got that.
Let's see. So this, oops, I messed something up over here. This outer one needs to be copper.
The outer...
And I believe I messed this up. This one doesn't need to be here. The outer one should be copper. I'm just going to bring it in like this and just drop it in like that.
Okay, so you don't need a lot of this.
Yeah.
There you go.
And I messed this up. I'll fix this one.
Carbon.
There we go. Okay, so this will need 9 of these. That will be that. And we can just run this way. And these this way, and move these over one. There we go. And this will be our military science pack. Oops. Good. Inserters, and we're almost done. And in the meantime, I have over 100 grenades. Let's see if there are any trees anywhere I can blow up. I guess we should finish actually hooking things up before we go have fun.
Oh, and it looks like we're actually at that point, so...
Ah, all right. Well, then we'll finish this up between episodes and come back with a couple more military things for the next one. Thank you all very much for watching. My name's been Rotype, he's been Mouse Gunner, and we'll see you next time.